Start the meeting, it just goes continually.
I know, but if I was saying like if we have problems, like if it only lets us be on there for like a few, because I mean,
Why would it, I've never had that happen.
that happened once when a little bit ago, like 2 or 3 meetings ago. We had gotten booted out of a meeting a little bit ago. I can't remember what meeting exactly. I want to say the 411 or 428. There was that one time we got booted out.
I'm sorry. Okay, if we're in, we're in. And let's hope for the best. But if we're gonna have problems, I want to be able to tell people as soon as possible because we have 4 public hearings and I just don't even know how we're gonna do it. If we have to reschedule these, it would be really, really not a good situation. So
Yeah, I agree. Just yeah, like Ray says, the IT team would be a great idea.
really great idea. Okay, I got to do a couple things to get my documents all queued up. And I'm just realizing that you sent me the revised minutes for 4/28 on May 12th.
My
And
goodness, I cannot believe myself.
What?
Let me.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What I was saying is I never circulated them with the commissioners from what I can see.
Oh. I thought you said that like when I sent you the meeting minutes from May 12th, I accidentally sent you the revised one. And I was like, dang it, I am not on a good roll.
On May 12th, you sent me the revised minutes for April 28th. And I think there wasn't enough time for us to really review them because it was the same day of the meeting. So we didn't approve them that night, but I think I forgot to give them to the commissioners.
I thought I saw them in there.
Did I can't see that I sent them to the commission. So we won't do the May 12th meeting minutes because I haven't had a chance to really look them through. I'm still editing them.
Yeah.
So those are not ready to approve tonight. And the 28th, April 20th, I can't.
I'm looking through my emails now.
Yeah, I know you did some additions. Anyway, listen, I have to get some documents open, so I got to stop talking for a few minutes.
Okay.
Because I'm going to run out of time and I got to get these documents queued up.
Okay.
All right. Oh my God. This is ridiculous. Hello.
Tonight, his publicist confirming 67-year-old Ray Liotta passed away in his sleep in the Dominican Republic while shooting an upcoming film. His unexpected death coming after last year's release of The Sopranos.
Carrie, can you make me co-host, please?
Except in seventh grade.
Okay.
The ice last fall and telling him he was happiest with family.
Very good. Some noise on there. Thanks. I can unmute you, but just you had a lot of noise. Mary, is that your noise?
Could be. Let me just.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
And here we are. Did any of you remember whether Scott was going to make it tonight?
Hmm.
I have some vague memory that maybe he was traveling or something.
I don't remember. Let's see if I got something that says that.
I remember him saying something about being in Maryland, but I can't remember if that was for June.
Yeah. Well, we won't hold up anything if he's not here because we got a really full schedule. I'm glad Zoom is working. We just got a notice a few minutes ago that maybe Zoom wasn't going to work. If we all get booted out, that would be very bad because we have so many hearings tonight. But I will quickly email everybody if that happens. Zoom gods. You know, sometimes it just goes badly. All right. It's 7 o'clock. So I am going to call the meeting since we have a quorum. And if Scott joins us, all the merrier. But tonight we've got a 7:05, we've got a hearing with Nate Hurd for Fort Cushman Road, the continued public hearing. And I'm hoping that Janice joins us because she was going to try and be here tonight. I don't know about Dawn. In terms of minutes for this week, oh, here's Janice, great. We do not have minutes to approve tonight. Carrie was out sick last week, so she's been catching up, which I'm glad to see you're okay and you're here. Thank you. Anyway, we're a little behind, and the minutes from April 28th were finished, but I didn't send them out to people. So I will send them out and we'll catch up at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Did the site visit happen with the highway department this week? That just didn't happen.
No.
There was
No.
Okay. All right. To be continued then about that. Here is Scott. Great. Okay. We're going to wait a couple more minutes before we open the public hearing. Hi, Scott.
Hey, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
You're not very late. We're good to go in a couple minutes. We'll open the public hearing. We have a pretty full night tonight. I'd really like to get these orders of conditions approved tonight so that we don't have to do it at our next meeting. Because I know we really wanted that next meeting on June 2nd to be a really short meeting. It depends on how our brains last and how long these meetings go. So I'm gonna just really try to keep the process moving along with the hearings. I have drafted in EDEP the draft orders, but and I have draft special conditions that I'll share with you. And hopefully we can just quickly edit and deliberate as we edit and get through it pretty quickly so that we can be all done tonight with these. Because it's not great to have to try to do it at a different meeting. So anyway, anything else we need to cover in the next minute or two before we start 64 Cushman Road? Any other updates? I just wanted to let you know, and I don't know what the upshot of this was, but the select board had a executive session on Tuesday night to talk about the disposition of the Randall Road boat launch with town council. And I had asked if we could be included in that. And they elected to have that discussion amongst themselves first.
Right.
So that's just what it is. Okay. Anything else for 1 minute?
Did
oh.
the land conservation project go through okay?
That's what I was gonna ask too,
Oh.
both of them.
I'm assuming it did. I haven't heard anything. So I'm assuming that bravo, I think it did go through.
Yay.
We could celebrate.
Great.
Usually those things do go through at town meeting if they've gotten that far in the process. but
Uh-huh.
Yay.
Wonderful.
It is wonderful. It's exciting. So that's going to be a big project to draw up the management plan and get going with that. Very exciting.
And did the Ames Pond
Yeah,
request go
I'm
through
I'm
too?
sure
Okay.
it did. Anyway, it's 7:05, so I'm gonna open the continued public hearing for 64 Cushman Road, notice of intent for a geothermal energy system. And I really only budgeted a very short amount of time for this. So I'm hoping we don't have to continue the discussion because we have another hearing at 7:30. So the way we left it was that Nate was going to revise the map. I am going to open it up and screen share it so we can figure out whether we feel like it meets our needs. And then perhaps we can go to figure out if we have enough information to close the hearing and draft it all. So I'm opening it up. And I'm going to share it. I have to rotate it, so it's not gonna look quite right. So let me, how do I rotate it? Rotate 90 degrees. Okay, can you guys see it?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so Nate, it looks like Nate and I also talked this week about it because some of the language on the map was still not aligned with the way usually site plans are done. So he had in the supplementary measurements, he had different labels than are flagged in the field. And so I asked him to have on this map the same kind of number system that is being used in the flags in the field. So, and he changed a little bit of the language. The one thing that I advised him to do and suggested was that he had a couple of 100-foot buffer zone circles, but they hadn't been delineated. He did it using GIS as an estimator, and the discussion we had at the last hearing was that those boundaries are not very clear. They haven't been really confirmed. And I know Janice, you had some more thoughts about it. Do you want to share?
Yeah, just from my experience with DEP in the past, usually one of the first things they require when you have an NOI submitted is that all the resource areas are identified on the map. So I understand that, it may not all be accurate. It hasn't all been ground truthed, but you can put the 100-foot buffer in, and I think you should have the 100-foot riverfront area, especially just because that has more restrictions normally in it than the 100 to 200. That it's important to show those resource areas, because even though you say in your draft orders that the buffer zone and some other stuff haven't been confirmed or established, not showing them on the map may lead people to assume that there isn't anything or that those aren't there. So that's my only concern, is that it doesn't show at least the approximate 100-foot buffer and the 100-foot riverfront. But it just for a matter of record, it doesn't say on this map anywhere that, you know, there is a 100-foot buffer resource area under the bylaw and stuff. So I don't know, that's Robin. I mean, Beth, how do you usually handle this sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely good, like you were saying, to have the 100-foot, the riverfront line, you know, between
Yeah,
the first 100 feet and the second 100 feet of riverfront. I know he has the distances on here, so we know, you know, from HW4 to say borehole number 1, it is over 100, it is over that 100-foot line. But for the record, it's just good to have those on the actual map. But in terms of putting a 100-foot buffer line that's from the wetland markings, the A1 through A4, it can be approximated using GIS. That's fine. That, you know, the 100-foot line doesn't necessarily have to be the surveyed point. You know, these points are what were marked in the field by the wetland scientists, and so if you just generally go in GIS 100 feet from those and put the line, that's okay.
My concern just was that there was, the way he had it was there was like two intersecting circles, and one of the buffer zones kind of crossed through that blue polygon, which
Yeah.
really makes sense. So, you know, I think we need to give Nate some really clear guidance, because he's been trying really hard to get this right. And I really appreciate your efforts, Nate. And it's really hard when it's your first time around understanding the nomenclature. And it may seem like we're being really picky, but it's a legal document. And so we have to be careful that we're using the language that's in the regulations, which I know it's a steep learning curve. So how do we want to do this? Because I can pull up the old map that he had and show you, or where those circles were, but they were problematic, I think. Let me see if I can find because I've sent it out. Everybody's probably seen the April
Yep.
site plan. I'm trying to find it myself.
well, there was the May 17th one as well.
Was there a May 7th? We're going through. I know. I feel like I have a May 25th.
That's this one, right?
Right. Nate, was there a May 17th one?
What you have now is the third iteration.
I have an April 27th one. And that one had too many things on it. You took them off. I can't find it. Is anybody else? Carrie, can you locate it? Or Nate, do you have it? Can we let you screen share? Make you a co-host? Let's do that. Where is it? Okay. I'm going to try and make you a co-host. I can't make you a co-host, apparently. Am I a co-host?
I made him a co-host.
Okay. So if you want to pull it up. Also, I had probably stopped screen sharing. Oh no, he's doing it.
Okay, yeah. So this was the one that, I was concerned about the 100-foot buffer for wetland 1 or A or whatever that little one at the bottom is, sort of intersecting the other, what's called Adams Brook blue polygon. And so I don't know how to, ideally, what I was telling Miriam, the good thing about this part is that the 100-foot, what was called bank area, which should be riverfront area, does include basically the buffer for the 100-foot buffer for the blue wetland.
Yeah.
So it's more the 100-foot buffer for that lower wetland that's a little confusing.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure.
So Nate, just to be clear, the red line that you have in the newest version where it says riverfront area, it probably should say 200-foot riverfront area. I know these words, we're just getting picky about the words, but these are sort of this jurisdictional language. And then the 100-foot bank area would be called the 100-foot riverfront area. And the reason why Janice is bringing this up is that generally speaking, the first 100 feet of that 200-foot zone is considered to be more environmentally sensitive and need more protection than the second 100 feet. So, and then the one that you have as 100-foot wetland area should be called 100-foot buffer zone. So not area, buffer zone. But I don't know.
I don't know how to deal with the, in the end, for this project, the 100-foot buffer from the Adams Brook blue polygon doesn't really matter. That's the good news.
Right.
So if you took the buffer zone off, you'd still have the 100 and the 200-foot riverfront as long as it's renamed. And that's probably the more important part since the work is in the next to the house and in the front yard.
Okay.
That's my suggestion, but it's up to you guys. You know, I'm trying not to take over.
Are you guys okay with this? What do you think? What does the commission think?
I agree, either get rid of it or even have it just sort of end once it comes out on the other side of the house so that it doesn't look like it's going right through the Adams Brook. I think that is what's weird. You could, you know, just kind of have it, but not do the whole full half circle.
Mhm.
It just kind of comes and covers the area where the project, where the actual work is going to be.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because one protected zone within another protected zone isn't really as important. Is that clear, Nate? Probably as clear as mud.
It's like clear
Okay.
as mud.
So I'm gonna summarize it, what I think we've just said. That we would like you to take this map that you have shared right here. And actually, let's not take this map because this language in the supplementary measurements is incorrect.
Okay.
So what I suggest is you take the more recent map that you gave us, which has the correct supplementary measurement labels, and add, as is recommended, a 100-foot riverfront area line. Okay, 100-foot riverfront area. And when you have this other red line, it should say 200-foot riverfront area.
Mhm.
Okay, so those two lines, and then what Beth is recommending is that you take that other third circle and for the A series wetland, and you just end it at the house. And that should be labeled 100-foot buffer zone or 100-foot BVW buffer zone, if you would prefer. And then I think we have near close enough to perfection that we're going to get or we need for this. Is that clear, Nate? Do you?
I think it's clear. I am concerned about the fact that the wetland scientist delineated what he thought was, the most relevant buffer or BVW and bank length. And, it's the case that on the what's not covered in the extent of this map may be other wetland areas or, as you know, Adams Brook, it winds around behind. If I represent buffers that are limited to what has been delineated by a professional wetland scientist, that's one thing. And but if I'm being asked to represent the totality of the ecosystem, then that's a different thing. And I want to make sure that for the fourth version or fifth version of this map, that I'm actually capturing that both with the lines, but also with what's required and understood. Effectively,
Well,
if you require, with these marked points, HW7 through 1 and the A series as well, is there verbiage I should include in the document and in the performance document that explains that I'm only representing what the wetland scientist, that these buffers represent that as well? I think that would be my question.
My understanding is that what we approve, whatever site plan we approve that is referenced in the order of conditions is the site plan that prevails. And regardless of whatever preliminary information you presented to us in the initial notice of intent or even supplements that you've given us, it's the final revised version, the last version, which we list on the order of conditions, and that's what is important. So I don't think you need to revise any of the other stuff. But I do want to kind of move us along. I think that what I would like to recommend is that if the commission feels that we have enough information, and we may want to talk about erosion controls for a minute, that if we can close the public hearing, we could perhaps consider a condition that you would give us this updated map, in the next week, for that would have this language in it. Or we can continue to another day. We are meeting next Thursday night, and so we could continue to next Thursday night and then wrap it up then. And then that might be simpler. Do we want to have some discussion about erosion controls? Does anybody have questions about erosion controls?
I think it looks good. Seems to be located in the right position.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a comment to Nate when he sent the photograph from Dandelion with the example of a silt fence, but it was not the best example of what a truly functioning silt fence is,
No.
because it's falling down. But it was a good example of a silt fence in need of some repairs. And also it was opening on the downslope side. So it wouldn't necessarily, but I understand that that is not what is being proposed here, so we don't really need to worry about that. How do you, Nate, you're the applicant. How would you like to proceed?
Well, I mean, I love making maps, so I'm happy to revise the map. And if the commission, if we can close the hearing, I would prefer to do that and then be on the hook for, turning around representation that reflects this feedback.
The commission may not want to approve a map may not want to, I mean, the problem will be, that we do need to have a site plan in the order of conditions. So it is a little problematic if we close tonight that we don't have a map that we've all are in agreement about.
Okay, so it sounds like there's not actually a question to me about what I would like to do if I want the project. Or is there something, maybe I missed something?
Let me poll the commission.
Yeah.
Do you, commissioners, do you want to ask the applicant if he's willing to continue to June 2nd and to give us the updated map and then close the hearing then? Or is there some alternative you want to consider, given that the concerns that have been raised?
I feel like, I mean, I could kind of go either way. It's only a week away and he could certainly, just add that line and then we'd have the final map. But at the same time, I think we could also, close the hearing and one of the conditions can be that he provides a revised map with the 100-foot riverfront line to the commission.
How do we word that in the order of conditions then? Just say we're not approving this map?
You can do something like just saying that, yeah, you want a date. I was gonna say you could just say that work can't start until the commission has received an acceptable revised plan or something like that. But that leaves you sort of hanging in terms of an actual final date of map approved with the order. So it's, it depends on whether you want to be that specific or leave it as a condition. I mean, ideally, hopefully he'd be able to get it within a week back to you. But if you close the hearing, then that's it. You can't reopen it.
Yeah, my preference would be to continue it if the applicant's willing to continue it.
For just a week.
Sure.
Okay. Everybody else agree? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody want to make a motion to continue to June 2nd? And I think we have a hearing at 7. So could we do this at, I don't know how long that's going to take. Could we continue it to 8? Can you guys, would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You make a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing for 64 Cushman Road to next meeting, June 2nd at 8 p.m.
Okay, second.
Second,
Second,
Okay. David,
aye.
Font, aye. Harrington,
Aye.
on.
Aye.
Yes.
aye.
Okay, thank you, Nate. And, I'm sorry it's taking us so long, but we'll get it right. Okay. And Nate, are you clear now what we need on that? What? I'm just gonna say it out loud again. My
Yeah.
understanding is that you're gonna label 200-foot riverfront area and 100-foot riverfront area on the most current version, the May 25th map that you gave us. And we're not going to, and then you're going to add a 100-foot buffer zone for the A series wetland that will go all the way to the house and just stop.
And and I'm calculating those buffers off of the surveyed pins.
Right, and GIS, we understand, and we understand that there's a little bit of approximation because you're using GIS and, but we're asking you to do that.
Yeah.
Carrie, you have your hand raised.
I don't know if it helped at all, but while you were making these suggestions, I kind of just doodled on his current map. I don't know if that would be helpful at all.
Sure. Send
Just,
it.
I thought I'd throw it out there.
Okay, send it to all, send it when you send it to the commission and. to
Oh,
Nate.
oop. I was
Just show it. Okay.
Well, you know, we already closed the hearing, so we shouldn't be entertaining this at this point. but
Oh, okay.
I think if you want to share it with them, go ahead.
okay.
Okay. All right, thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
Okay, So we've got another 2 minutes till we have a public hearing for 26 Lake Drive. Carrie, your hand's still raised? Okay. And is everybody available next week?
No,
Robin is not, so we'll just have,
I am.
and Scott, are you available? Yes.
Yeah, the second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Right, because I have we have two trips planned in June, and I specifically schedule them for before our first meeting and after our second. So they're like the first week of June and the last week of June. So I can't do the second.
No, you can't. You can't. It's not the problem with scheduling so many things. All right, we got 1 more minute to go. All right, it's 7:30, so I'm going to open the public hearing for the amended order of conditions request for 26 Lake Drive. Property owners are Michael Stotz and Anna Mancebo. So hello, welcome. Are you there? You guys are there? And do you have anybody with you tonight? Any other representatives or people? Anna? Hi. Yeah, you're muted. Can you unmute? I don't know what's going on. We can't hear you. There you go. Oh, you were unmuted for a second. We can't hear you. I don't know. Do you want to call in? I don't. You can if your sound isn't working on your computer, you can call in by phone to access the Zoom account while you're doing that.
It looks like Michael is already on the phone. I mean, he's listed there as well, Mike Stotz.
Yep. Well, you are there. He's muted as well. If you're calling in by phone, sometimes it's hard. I don't know how you unmute with a phone. Does anybody know?
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can. Great. Okay, terrific. Thank you. Glad that worked.
Okay. I think you're going to have to get on.
I think we do have to, you're getting, it sounds like maybe your computer is working now. Let me try muting that. Okay. Can you talk now, Anna? Nope, that didn't work. Okay. So I guess you have to unmute on the phone and mute yourself on the computer.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think we're going to have to leave the video and just be able to talk to you through the phone, Miriam.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. So the process tonight is that we are, we had a discussion at our last meeting, but now we're officially in a public hearing. So we need to review the request, and I think we'll have some questions for you. Do you want to take a few minutes? I'm also mindful that we have other public hearings tonight. So wondering maybe if you could just take a couple of minutes and just give us a snapshot of what you're asking for.
Sure. So in our order of conditions, we were asked to provide an infiltration trench to address road runoff concerns, and that a plan would be presented to the commission for approval prior to installation. In addition to that, we went back and have worked with the engineer who helped design the septic system along with the contractor, and provided in writing now that the surface area must be paved in order not to ruin the septic leach field. So those are the two conditions that we're addressing. The one is where we have presented a plan, and the commission had that as of last meeting. We met with our contractor again on site, and he also provided additional rationale for the way it was designed. There were questions that had come up about why drains were facing a certain way and not another way. And because of the limitations of the lot, where we have electrical wires for the well and the well line and propane tank that'll be installed, we're not able to, really have too much opportunity for these infiltration trenches in terms of twisting them around. So that was stated in an email that he sent that's been attached to the plan dated April 17th. And it's both, not only did we provide one infiltration trench, but we were providing two to catch any road runoff and or anything that comes, through the parking area. So that's what I'm asking for. We're asking for our plan to be approved tonight, and there are conditions to be amended so we can move forward.
Yes. Okay, I have some questions, and maybe I could just throw out some of the questions and then you can respond. One of the questions is that I'm noticing that on this site plan, the driveway the paved area appears to extend past your property boundary into Lake Drive, and maybe you can clarify that. And a couple of other questions I have is, when I look at the detail on this plan for what the construction of the trench is, it appears to have been taken from an engineering plan for a notice of intent for your neighbor for 32 Lake Drive. And I know it's hard to see the print, but it describes having compacted crushed stone and having a 2% grade from the road on one side and a 2% cross pitch from the property. And clearly these infiltration basins are not, infiltration trenches are not going to be next to the road. I'm not sure how you would achieve those grades, because on the left side, on the north side, the slope is about 15%, and on the right side, it's about 13% grade in the steepest part of it. And I'm just curious about the rationale for having crushed or compacted stone if you're not going to be driving vehicles over it. It would seem like an infiltration trench designed for would not have that particular design, and maybe you can give us some information
Sure.
about that.
Yeah, so
Well, you understand-
to answer the first question, then I'll let Mike elaborate.
Sure.
The X's should stop at our property line.
Of course.
Okay, so that was just a drawing error.
Okay.
Okay, so does that answer your first question? That
Okay.
the driveway will not extend onto Lake Drive?
No, we can't do that by right. Their
Right.
property.
Right, so that was just a drawing error,
Mhm.
okay? So it'll stop at our property line. That was the first question. The second
Wait, wait,
question,
Does that answer the first question?
Yes.
Susan?
hello?
Yes, I think it answers it. The problem, like with, is that we might want to see this site plan revised so that when we're approving something, we're not it isn't construed that we're approving paving onto the footprint.
Let's just make a note. No, we can't pave on on another person's property.
Sure. Understood. And the other, could you tell us the other
Okay.
more about the trenches?
Okay, real quick. So the bottom line is, you understand riprap and gabions and what have you, with what you do every day. The crusher run, it's there just to break up the flow in case you had a flood. As it eases into the soil, it's all sand there. We did identify that there is nothing from this property running into the lake whatsoever. We're very fortunate that we have a sand base. So we provided these, and it's expensive to put the crusher run down on both sides, just in an attempt to get this approved and everybody happy.
But why would you have compacted gravel? What would be the rationale for that? I understand why. I understand why your neighbors needed it, but other infiltration.
No,
trenches-
Miriam, I mean, from a conservation commission, that's just to break up the flow for it to go into the soil. That's pretty
understand what you're
standard. I
saying.
mean,
I don't know that you're understanding what I'm asking, but
no, I don't.
not all infiltration trenches are designed in this particular way. My read is that this particular infiltration design was designed for being driven over by vehicles. And that's why it has.
No. There's no vehicles going to go over this.
No, I understand that, but you're using a design that was designed to carry heavy vehicles. So I'm wondering why do that, because obviously there's some risk for the compaction to reduce the infiltration capacity.
There's a risk for the compaction to.
Are you speaking to Alan's statement?
No, I'm talking about this site plan you have up in the upper left-hand corner. Do you see here, there is a cross section of an infiltration trench design. And
Right.
some infiltration trenches, for example, have perforated pipe in them. Some don't. This one, the design indicates that it's going to be crushed stone and compacted. So I'm asking why that particular design in a location where there isn't going to be any heavy equipment? Was there?
Well, that was in concert with Alan White, the engineer, and Dennis Clark. And he
But
said
this
he'll put, he's
design-
wait, he's flow, Miriam, let me finish my sentence. He's going to flow the water to both sides. And then he put the two trenches, which I prefer if we didn't put any stone in because it costs a lot of money. But he said this will satisfy any drainage that comes down here. And nothing will go past here and nothing will go into the lake or what have you. Plus, in addition to that, let's keep in mind, this site will be graded by a big machine. There will be lots of what you refer to as loam. There will be landscaping. There will be grass in addition to this. And I've really surveyed up and down Lake Drive, the neighbors and what have you. We will not have any problems here.
Well, I understand your assurances and I appreciate that. And I understand that you're taking this seriously, but part of our job to make decisions is that we have to meet an evidentiary standard, which is gathering credible evidence from competent sources, meeting a preponderance of evidence, meaning more than 51%, more than 50%. So that's why we're asking about how these calculations were made, because if an engineer had designed this, usually there would be some calculations used for developing the size and the depth and the infiltration rate. And so I understand that that may not have been the case here, but we want to make sure that we're not approving something that isn't going to work properly. We want to make sure that we're not.
Right. But let me.
And so that's why I'm
Miriam?
asking these questions. I mean, I just trying to understand from the perspective of whoever designed it. I understand that this particular snapshot came from an engineered design for 32 Lake Drive. I have a copy of that NOI and I can see that it's exactly that.
You're talking about that small little square in the top left-hand corner that has actually nothing to do with the site plan.
Okay. Because
Well,
if
if
it's
it's
on,
raining.
if it's on the site plan, then we, we can't approve something if it's not part of the site plan. You submitted it. I assume that this was the design of the infiltration trench that you were recommending.
The
Why this was on the site plan.
design of the infiltration, well, the design of the infiltration trench is on either side of the plan. That's the location. And this is the way he is designing those trenches.
Right,
Yeah.
but Miriam, you're also familiar with Dennis Clark. You're also familiar with Alan Weiss. They met with you at your property. You emailed Alan
Directly.
and you asked him about this. He came back. He's responded 3 times this week. That's how they work together.
Mr. Stotz, I
Mike
I
Stotz.
haven't had any communication with Alan Weiss about this infiltration trench. And so I'm, Alan
So
Weiss.
you reached out to him by
Weiss did
email.
design-
This is for the public record.
Are you saying Alan Weiss designed this particular cross-section of this
No.
infiltration trench?
No. I'm saying
Dennis Clark did that.
Alan
Yeah,
has to come and inspect our septic system. As you know, he inspected yours. Okay? Alan and Dennis work as a team. Alan did our septic design approved by the Board of Health. Alan has to be consulted on anything we do with the septic, drainage, what have you. Dennis is going to grade the site. He's done numerous ones up there. He's worked really hard to try to get this thing resolved. Okay? What I was referring to is that the email that Alan, he called, he received one from you asking him about the septic system. But in any event, I think we have this more than covered here. It's an 80 by 100 foot lot. They feel so strongly that, I mean, what more can they do?
Well,
So can I ask a question?
yeah.
So I'm clear. So
I was just
so-
gonna, Mary, just let me just respond and then
go ahead.
I just want to be clear that I don't have any communication from Alan Weiss regarding the infiltration trench on the sides of your property. We do have an opinion that an infiltration trench is not appropriate along the roadside. And we understand, we got an opinion from Alan Weiss that he designed the septic system with the idea that it should be paved with an impervious surface in order to improve its performance. So I understand that the evidence that's been presented to us is that Alan Weiss has weighed in on the paving of the driveway. And we have,
Right.
And that there shouldn't be an infiltration trench up gradient along the road near the septic system. I don't have any evidence or information that's been shared about the side yard infiltration trench design and Alan Weiss having an opinion about how it should be designed. If he has an opinion about that, if there's some information you can share with us. But again, we're looking for evidence from credible sources, from credible evidence
Okay.
from competent sources is the legal standard. So if you do have some information, that would be very helpful. I'm just asking, because you're saying that Dennis Clark designed this, and I'm asking some questions about why it's designed the way it is. And that's kind of what we do in public hearings is we ask some questions, we gather information in order to understand whether we feel we can approve it or not. So the
Okay,
questions
well,
are
what
not
we,
meant to be challenging, they're just meant to be data gathering.
okay,
Mary-
so
Mary-
basically,
Mary, David, you had a question.
Yeah. So my question was basically the same thing as how are these trenches designed? And I guess I'm a little unclear as to the little diagram on here. Is that how these are designed? And if not, then how are they? What's the composition of designing the trench?
okay, you have 2 trenches on either side of the property. The water's going to flow into them. This is done by a contractor who's done 100 systems up there. Okay, and
Yeah.
Alan
I
Weiss is a
understand that.
septic engineer. But Alan, I believe it's gravel there, which you're directing the. First of all, we don't need anything per the people that do this every day. To make up for whatever the infiltration trench, which would have ruined the septic field, we said we will do this voluntarily. So we asked him to draw this up. He directed the water to go to both sides, and my understanding was there is gravel, whatever, I don't know the right words, crusher run, gravel, whatever they do in there. but they direct the water to go to this way. It goes into there, and then it goes into the ground, like every other property on Lake Drive. The water goes into the ground. Now, I've identified 100 times that this is all sand.
So the concern I think we have is that in order to approve an infiltration trench, we need to get, be certain that we've gathered enough information to feel confident that it's going to function as designed. So that's why we're asking.
Well, maybe we should not call it an infiltration trench. Maybe you're talking about runoff. How are you handling runoff on the site? And we are handling runoff on this site with these drawings.
Okay.
I mean,
So,
really.
The site, we're going off of the site plan that was submitted to us as a request. And so, and again, when we issue an amended order for you, we're going to have to reference a last and final site plan. And we're going to have to, so it has to be correct. And if there are things on this site plan that you in retrospect think maybe should be taken off or changed, we're going to need to have it be a correct site plan. Otherwise, we're not, that's going to be a problem for us. So I want to just see if there's any other questions from the commissioners.
I think we might have talked a little bit about this at the last meeting, but I'm just wondering again, what's the vegetation? So those blue arrows are showing where the drainage is going to flow into the infiltration trench. And I'm wondering there along next to the house, what the vegetation is going to be that water will flow through before it gets to the infiltration trench.
Well, I would guess it's grass.
Grass.
I mean, we're going to.
Yeah, so it's going to be
And
like
plants.
mowed grass, right?
Plants, mowed grass. It's a very tiny strip.
Right, it's about 15 feet, but less because some of it's taken up by the infiltration trench. How did you come up with the length of it? It looks on this site plan like it's about 38 feet long. Why that particular length?
I honestly don't know. I mean, that's a question for Dennis. My guess is
Location places the leach field 6 inches from the edge of the road, meaning an infiltration trench 2 feet wide, as requested, would be a maximum distance of 4 feet from the leach field. So it's in relationship to the leach field, and that's where he plotted the infiltration trench.
But Miriam has all these emails.
I understand that, Michael.
The
but
commission doesn't have them though, by the
I
questions
don't
they're
know.
asking.
I don't know. So it's in,
Miriam.
it's in the detailed email where frankly, it was dated March 13th. So hopefully the commission has all of the, because Dennis could not make it on the phone tonight, he felt that his emails and his letter would provide enough information for the rationale of why they were placed where they were placed in order that they don't interrupt the leach field flow. And he has itemized it 100%.
That was sent to the Concom. That was, everybody has a copy of all this.
Yeah,
So,
everything you've submitted was forwarded to the commission as soon as we
okay, great. That's great. Yep. And then he cited, it would also, if it were any closer, he said it would not conform to MA Title V regulations stating minimum setback distance from a soil absorption system to an open surface or subsurface drain to be 10 feet minimum. So it's all in that note.
When we did our site visit, I noticed that there were a couple of trees and some shrubs in the area on the north side of your property. Are you proposing, it seems like 38 feet would impact some of those shrubs and trees. What are you thinking about for that?
Those are going to stay. Those are the arborvitaes, and there are a couple of trees there that we have no plans on doing anything with, but leaving them there, but adding to those, adding to that planted area.
I'm just concerned a little bit about having this trench so close to those trees. It almost looks like it would be right up against the trees or between the trees and the shrubs. And
no,
that's not a concern. Plus, arborvitaes can take all the water in the world.
Yeah, they're actually good for water absorption, and they grow like weeds. So,
did the commission see this visit form with the photos for those of you who didn't go to the site visit? Do you want me to pull that up?
Sure.
Let me see if I can find it. I'm in the wrong place. Give me a second. Carrie, if you find it sooner than me, let me know and have you pull it up. I have site visit. I don't see where are the photographs. Maybe it's in this document. No. Carrie, can you locate it in your inbox?
I'm looking right now.
I sent it to everybody. After the site visit, I'm trying to see. Site plan. I can't find it.
I think I have it.
I just got it.
Oh,
Okay. I'm gonna try and share it. Okay. Okay, can people see this?
Yes.
All right, so Robin and I were at this site visit and we just walked around the house and I took photos from all the angles. So this is from the road and this is the septic system leach field. This is from the lake. One of the concerns that I noted was that the order of conditions required the erosion controls to be 15 feet from the bank. And the erosion controls are not 15 feet from the bank. And that was supposed to be the limit of work. The erosion controls were to establish a line by which nothing else could be done. And if you look here, this is the water. This is an older version of the erosion controls and then a newer one about 18 inches inland. Robin and I were measuring where the 15-foot mark was here. This is going on I guess the southerly side of the house, and as has been noted, it's very sandy and there's straw, but there's pathways of areas where the straw has been moved aside, which I'm imagining is from water flow at times. This is the neighbor's property. I'm just going to move through this a little quicker. So this is the side that's a little steeper grade. So going over here on this side at the steepest part, I looked on the site plan, and this is about a 13% grade. Over here, it's about a 15% grade right in here in the steepest part, and then it kind of flattens.
Miriam, that's not a 15% grade there. I'm very familiar with grades as well. Who
Who was your
Who
engineer?
engineered that for you? Who said that to you? The 15% grade.
Well, I calculated it by looking at the topography and measuring the distance from the site plan.
That
Wow,
is not a
That's
15%
not
grade. I'm
official.
sorry.
No, I don't.
I actually think
Okay,
it's closer to
well,
9.
So
But again,
okay,
it's not
sir,
graded
sir,
yet, and
you
you don't
really-
have the loan.
sir, we need to have an orderly hearing, which means you have to be recognized by the chair. And we certainly will give you an opportunity to comment, but I'm trying to explain to the commission the site conditions right now. So please don't, please raise your hand if you'd like to be called. I'm happy to give you an opportunity to talk. Okay, so here, the question I had was that the house is here, the neighbor's house, there's these 2 trees and these shrubs. And you're saying that the erosion, the infiltration trench is gonna be like right here next to the shrubs, or it can't really be uphill from the shrubs, or else you're running into your septic components.
You have room to come up to the septic, okay? It would be alongside roughly along those trees.
How close to the tree?
Okay, by the way-
Excavation be?
Excuse me?
How close to the trees would the excavation be?
I don't know. I'd say pretty close. And frankly, the neighbor would like us to take those trees out. And if we do that, we'll put new trees in and make it pretty.
So you have to, tree removal within the 100-foot buffer has to be approved by the commission.
Of course,
Okay, but we'll do that down the road, whatever.
we're not doing that.
Leave them in there.
We're just, I feel it's very interesting to me that this started with a comment to us that we could hand draw our design for these trenches, and this is now escalated. And I feel like the work of Alan Weiss and the work of Dennis Clark are not even being considered and actually challenged by the commission, who I'm not sure if someone on the commission has an engineering background or a contracting background, but I find this to be questionable in terms of the line of questioning and the level. And I understand that you're put in place to protect the lake and the resource, and that's what we want to do as well. And I feel that the line of questioning and this conversation has really deteriorated. And I simply stated when we opened the meeting that we were presenting a plan, and you know, you're able to ask us questions. We are doing our best. We're lay people, and we relied on these professionals and these experts, and we have documentation. And if there's something that I need to adjust on the plan to have it be final, I will.
I need to intervene here, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to also be mindful that we have another public hearing scheduled very soon, I think possibly at 8 o'clock. So we have to make some decisions. And so I'm going to, and so I'm just going to put a pause on comments and talk to the commission now. But I do want to point out that the commission has the authority, if we don't feel that we if we feel that we need engineering guidance or professional expertise in reviewing an application, we do have the legal authority to require a third-party review, which would be an expert hired to review the project at the applicant's expense. But we are not at this point requiring that. We're doing our due diligence. There are very experienced people on the commission, including people with graduate degrees in wetland science and biology, and a good understanding of what our legal authority and responsibilities for protecting the wetlands are. So I just appreciate that we try to keep the tone respectful here, so that we can be productive and come to a resolution that will satisfy your needs is really what we're working on here. Commissioners, do we feel that we have enough information? I'm gonna pose two questions. And then I think we probably need to pause this until later so we can open the next public hearing. Do we have an 8 o'clock public hearing?
8:15.
Okay, we have 15 minutes. Great. We need to make a decision about the parking area. And we need to make a decision about what changes or approvals we want to make about an infiltration trench. So why don't we unpack that? Do you feel, commissioners, that you have enough information to reach a determination about the request to pave the driveway with an impervious surface? Do we feel we have enough information? Because that's really kind of, to close a hearing, we have to decide we have enough information. Scott?
There we go. Yeah, thank you, Miriam. I feel like I have enough information on the paving of the leaching field as per the information that was provided.
Okay. Just a thumbs up if people can just give me a yes or no, or if there's something you want to say. Yes, I mean,
Can you share the screen?
What?
Can you unshare the screen?
Yes, I can.
Take that, no, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Mary, what do you think? Do you have enough information for the driveway?
I have enough information for the driveway.
So the next question is, do we have enough information to make a decision about the infiltration trench? I just want to say that frankly, I'm concerned that we do not have enough information, and I am worried about approving an infiltration trench when we aren't really getting a good sense about how it was designed, what capacity it has for capturing water, how much water, to ensure that it isn't going to fail, because failing would be a terrible problem for the wetlands and also for the landowner. So the question is also, do we want an infiltration trench in that particular area? Do we want an infiltration trench at all? Is there another alternative besides an infiltration trench that we could consider? One of the things I had been thinking about was, instead of requiring this kind of engineered infiltration trench, was to perhaps require a larger vegetated buffer strip along the lake, maybe as a perpetual condition, because we know that vegetated buffer strips do an excellent job of catching sediment and protecting the wetlands and protecting the integrity of the bank. But again, do you feel like you have enough information to approve this particular plan? Because I think that's really the question. If we don't have enough information, then we would either have to request a continuance and try to get more information, or if they didn't want to continue, then we would have to decide whether we were going to approve or disapprove it.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about it too. I feel like, especially what you pointed out about the slopes, and were these trenches designed with the correct sloping towards them? And then if you're proposing a completely different design, I guess I would feel more comfortable if Alan Weiss or I guess Mr. Clark were here to really describe why they designed it the way they designed it, and to answer some of our questions. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and I agree with Beth. I mean, because I had, well, as Miriam knows, I was there with her, certain concerns seeing this this site. So yeah, getting a better understanding of how they design those trenches.
Do we?
So I still think too, so I understand from his letter why they placed them where they placed them, but it still doesn't address the design of the trench and what it's going to be made of, as well as the slope and what's going to go on with it. So no, I don't think we have enough information.
Do you want to comment, Scott? Get your headphones out.
I'm listening to what's being shared. I think it would be helpful ultimately. What I've been listening for is, an assurance that it can handle a storm event and not have stormwater and sediment overflowing and going down into the lake. And I think with these infiltration trenches, it's, they require maintenance as well. There's going to be sediment that's going to be accumulating in that, whether you call it, crushed rock or wherever the design is, all of them take maintenance over time. And so I think I agree with the other commissioners in terms of the design, trying to understand, why these were specified the way that they are to address the stormwater into the lake, but also how is the ongoing maintenance going to be performed to ensure that the function is designed.
I appreciate everybody's comments. I guess one of my concerns, one is that, I feel like the commission had concerns about stormwater runoff, and that was reflected in the original order of conditions, which included a vegetated buffer strip, a 5-foot vegetated buffer strip, and some infiltration trench designed to be presented at a future date, which I really don't kind of like. I don't like the idea of leaving an order of conditions with some major component that hasn't been approved and then issuing the order, because it just kind of kicks the can down the road. I have questions, given what we know now about the need for the driveway to be paved, and I agree. It sounds like this driveway needs to have an impervious surface. And I'm comfortable with approving that part of it. What I'm concerned about is jumping the gun and sort of kind of haphazardly, perhaps, or without it being really well thought out, throwing in some excavation on the slopes near trees, near the bank, hoping that that's going to improve the situation. And I'm wondering, if it's a solution in search of a problem, and if there's a simpler, lower tech and maybe less damaging to the environment solution, because, excavating a 2-foot by 3-foot trench is going to affect tree roots, and those trees are going to be stressed. And if they have to be taken down, that's going to also further reduce the stabilizing influence of the root structures on those slopes. So the trees and the vegetation are doing a job right now that is beneficial, and it's kind of taking away one beneficial thing to substitute for another thing that could be beneficial. So I'm worried about doing that. So in light of there not being kind of good engineering calculations before us to help us understand whether these infiltration trenches are appropriate and are going to function as intended, I'm inclined to either not approve it, or to perhaps try to come to some resolution with the landowners for some alternatives, such as something more low tech, something that we know will work. For example, like a vegetated buffer strip. There's very strong scientific evidence that buffer strips do an excellent job of filtering sediments and protecting bank.
I guess my only concern with that is, sort of us designing how wide it should be, the buffer strip, how it, because I think our main concern with this site is that we know that during storm events, a lot of water may come down on both sides of that house. And if that happens, these trenches, a 40-foot long trench with an open bottom, would take a lot of water. There's no doubt with that. And I think if we took those away and just relied on a 5-foot wide buffer down by the lake, we may end up with what's happening, at other houses there, where the bank is just getting completely eroded. But at the same time, I'm not sure those trenches are designed exactly accurately either. So.
Okay. I'm not sure either. My concern about them is really, the notation about the compaction, which strikes me as being something that you would need for the original design they were intended for. That diagram is lifted from another engineering plan that we have, which I could pull up if you want to see for comparison, but it's exactly the same diagram, and the notation is not specific to this particular property. So it's referencing the road, and these infiltration trenches aren't anywhere near the road. So
Right.
We could ask the applicants if they could revise this. And I guess that's a question for us to be then raising now with Anna and Michael. We have a few minutes. Are you willing to agree to a continuation and to maybe come back with some more information for us?
Yeah, I was making notes as you were talking, and I don't know that Dennis will ever really be able to join us on a phone call, but if I could get a letter from him addressing how it was designed, the capacity of water, how much water, why he placed it where he placed it, what the ongoing maintenance focus could be. Why were these specified? I mean, if I'm missing anything, let me know. Could be kind of like a checklist, if you would, that I would provide to him that he would be able to address. And then that way, you would have soup to nuts, everything you need.
Well, I know that when you're designing infiltration trenches, factors that get, again, an engineer, and Dennis, I appreciate his expertise as an excavator, and, he's very experienced and he knows his stuff. He's not a civil engineer. And there is a difference.
I see what you're saying.
An excavation,
Okay.
a civil engineer. So if a civil engineer was designing an infiltration trench, they would look at the perk. They have computer programs that help them calculate this, but they take the perk rate of the soil and volume of runoff modeled after average storms and maybe 10-year storms, and the area of the impervious surface and what the rate is based on the slope, the rate of the flow, and then they come up with a calculation. So there's a bunch of variables, and I understand that isn't how this was designed, but without that information, we're kind of wondering, is this going to work? That's kind of what we're struggling with. Janice, go ahead.
So I was just wondering, in order to sort of answer some of this question, whether Alan Weiss had the appropriate enough background that perhaps he could offer an opinion on whether he thought the infiltration design was sufficient or something like that.
I don't know if he designs infiltration.
Okay, I didn't know.
He's a registered sanitarian.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have an engineering background per se, but he designs septic systems.
All right.
He's a hydrogeologist, so I don't know if that's the same thing you were saying, Miriam.
He does not do typically civil.
Engineering.
Okay, but it does overlap and relate to the septic system, the infiltration, the water flow, and what have you. Dennis has done enormous things around the lake. So what you're really saying is now hire a civil engineer.
Your recommendation is to hire.
You're telling us to hire a civil engineer now.
Well, I'm not telling you. This is the commission would have to decide this. I'm also aware that right now we're at 8:15, and so we have another public hearing that we need to open.
But you want us to hire a civil engineer now
to represent the revised plan and explain the things that we discussed tonight. That's what I'm taking away from this.
Let's be clear.
I think that we have some specific questions about the design of the particular trench and why these choices were used as opposed to other ways of designing infiltration trenches. There are other designs available.
Okay, but you did make it clear, Miriam, that you're saying hire a civil engineer. You're not trusting the contract.
I didn't say that. I said that civil engineers do these kinds of calculations. And I understand that you didn't have a civil engineer do this design. So,
but you said Dennis is not a civil engineer, he's a contractor.
Michael, we're really trying to work with you so that we can come up with a good solution. And we're not trying to cause you unnecessary expenses. If we can resolve this, we would like to resolve it and move on. That's, I think, what we all want.
So if we provide you with these calculations, would the commission feel better about that? And then we could put this to bed once we resubmit it?
So I do think what we're looking for is an answer to the questions that you've been writing down.
Right. Okay. Okay. And you would feel better if it would come from a civil engineer, is what I'm hearing.
Do you, commissioners?
Or somebody.
Do you recommend?
Sorry.
We would like to hear from a competent source. We understand that you're operating, translating, and passing the information along from people who have expertise, but we're not getting an opportunity to interact with those experts. And so we can't really have a good back and forth and get information.
Okay. Can you recommend a civil engineer? Because I want someone that works with the commission. I can't bring someone in from outside.
we don't have a civil engineer that works for us. There's a lot of civil engineers in the area.
Okay, okay. Well, then that's where we'll leave it.
Is
And
that, well,
I'm not sure.
is that what you want to do, commissioners? Is that what we want to ask of them?
I guess I feel like if, you know, if Dennis Clark can provide the information that's on the, you know, the list of things that you were writing down, all of our questions, and really show to us how he designed it, why it's designed the way it is, you know, what volumes it's going to meet is, you know, then that satisfies me. And it would be really great if he would actually come to the meeting and we could talk to him back and forth about it and hear him specifically answer those questions. If he's not really able to do that, if whatever he gives back to you for information still just isn't enough, then you may have to go to a civil engineer and have somebody else provide something that's really giving us the information that we need, which is really a good design, telling us what kind of treatment and what volumes the trenches are going to treat.
Okay. Okay, I made my notes, but I don't know if anybody else had notes on the questions that were being raised. So hopefully I've captured them all. I don't know if those will appear in the minutes, or if I could get an email or something that would sort of list out what it is exactly. That would be very, very helpful.
We'll try to do our best to make sure they're in the minutes, and you know, we can I can have the land use clerk go over the recording and try to come up with a list for you. We do need to move.
Helpful. Thank you.
We need to continue, and I believe we have to continue to a date certain. So the question is, do you want to give us a date that you feel confident you could have these questions answered by? We're meeting in June on the 23rd. We have a pretty full night that night, and then we're meeting the second Tuesday in July, so we'll be meeting July 14th.
No, sooner the better.
So so June 23rd. And Carrie, do you know what we have? Can you look at the agenda and see if what we have open that night?
Are we meeting on the 16th too?
We are not, because we didn't have enough.
We didn't get a quorum. Okay.
Wait, are we?
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought.
Maybe, no, I think we are meeting. Hold on. Let me.
I thought we moved the 9th to
our meeting.
16th.
Okay, so what I have on the schedule for the 16th, I have a 7:30 NOI, I have an 8:30 NOI, and I have an RDA at 9:15.
I have the agenda pulled up for the 23rd, and for right now that's listed on it. It just says approved minutes for 6/16, continue public hearing for Montague, Carver, and Rad, and then
that's gonna be
follow-ups. Yeah,
and then we've got 2 other NOIs coming in. And if once they come in, we have to schedule a public hearing within 21 days. So if they, you know, in the next week, you know, we may end up having to have more public hearings. We're getting booked up here. So when do you want to do? Do you want to do June 2nd? How about if we do 8:30 on June 2nd?
Are you asking me, Miriam, Anna, or are you asking the commission?
And I'm asking everybody.
Oh.
Does that give them enough time to be able to talk to their person and get the information, or see if they need more?
It's going to be my number 1 priority. I mean, if you have the time, I'd love to get on the agenda. If not, you know, the next meeting.
Do we have a quorum of commissioners who can stay that long in that meeting? I can.
I can.
Okay, good. I think that Anna, when you talk to your contractor, you know, one of the things that would be helpful is obviously there's going to be some grading changes. And if he can explain what those grading changes are going to be. And if there's going to be plantings, you know, if you, to the extent to which you can explain to us how you're going to be landscaping in addition to grass, if there's other plantings that you're planning, that would be cool. I'm trying to think what other information might want to know. So, you know, again, the question I have is, you know, how are you going to be directing flow? I also noticed that when I look at the current topography, the driveway of your neighbor at 24 slopes down onto your property. The grade slopes down. And so I'm wondering also if there's how they will deal with runoff coming from that parking area if it slopes down into your property or into these infiltration trenches, because additional water load. Were there other questions we had about this?
I have quite a number listed, so I mean I've captured a lot.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank
you. So I have a motion to continue, please.
A motion to continue the order of condition on 26 Lake Drive to June 2nd at 8 p.m.
Don't you have an 8 p.m.?
We do have an 8 p.m. So it was going to be 8:30 p.m.
8:30.
Okay. I'll second it. David?
Aye.
Stefan, aye. Harrington?
Aye.
On.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm sorry to Joe Salvador and Kathleen. I'm sorry that we're kept you waiting.
That's okay.
We need to open the public hearing for the amended order of conditions for 31 Lakeview Road. And I think we're really close to coming to a resolution with you guys. And so I'm hoping this will be very brief and we'll just get to what we need. But I guess the question I have for you is, where are you at with what kind of markings, boundary markers?
Well, I think what we would like to use are the extruded aluminum casings filled with concrete. The picture that we sent you the other day, where we all agreed that markers should go, and boulders down below where we all agreed they were acceptable. And we can put numbers, as you asked, Miriam, on the markers. We can put reflective numbers on those markers so that it's clear, you know, that we've got them all covered.
Is there any way to have permanent numbers as opposed to, you know, adhesive numbers?
Joe, I don't know.
Permanent numbers are kind of hard to get extruded aluminum to.
Well, if we had done iron pins, would there have been numbers on those? I don't know.
No, but they would have been painted with high visibility paint, so they would have been very apparent.
Well, with the actual numbers, like the boat numbers, because the numbers are going to correspond to whatever the site map says that you have. We are going to correspond that number, so everybody that would walk, because they go on boats, so they last. I don't know, my boat number's been on for 10 years already, and they're still the same. So they're made to stay for a long period of time, and they're reflective too.
I mean, I suppose we could etch a number into the aluminum.
Yeah, but you wouldn't see it as well. I think the reflective number makes sure you could, the whole thing would be able to walk and see these things from a distance. And I think that was the best way for visibility when you're walking, because they're all going to be in the line where we put the pins.
Yeah, but I think her point isn't so much visibility as it is to make sure that the number's always there on each marker, right?
Well, that was a question we had of whether that was possible. So, you know, originally, no, we weren't requiring numbers. So I'm not, it was a question whether it's possible. I'm not saying it has to happen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those, the boat numbers and stuff would all last all of us and then all the people around because they stay for a long time.
Mhm.
Stickers, they're not the everyday stickers.
And how tall above grade are they?
We were
These are
thinking
taller, so there's
36
we
inches.
figured they'd be 36 inches, 3 feet above instead of 2 feet. So they're less of a tripping hazard.
Okay,
Again, more visibility and safer.
okay, so these are, what do you think, commissioners?
They sound okay to me.
So, so let me get the languages. So markers shall be extruded aluminum. Filled with concrete,
Yeah,
Right.
concrete and numbered with high visibility. High visibility stickers.
Yeah.
Labels.
Labels,
Oh,
stickers.
labels, yeah.
Labels. And they're going to be markers will be, okay, so I think I have this. What I would like to do, if that's really all we're here to talk about, right? That's all we care about tonight.
Yep. That's all we needed.
So I have a draft order of conditions. I've revised the order of conditions with that language. And so we can go over that amended order once we close the public hearing. Did anybody have any more questions?
I have one other one. Rocks go across the back where we showed where we could put the boulders when we did the walk the other day.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, want to make sure we've got it all on there.
It's on the site plan. So that site plan that I marked up has the numbers for 8 pins,
Mhm.
3 boulders. So they're all numbered 1 through 11, but the 3, 3 of those are not going to be marking pins. And
Right.
so it'll be 1 through 5 and 9 through 11 will be the marking pins. And 6 through 8 will be the boulders. And
Right.
we're not expecting you to carve numbers into the rock.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing for the amended order of conditions for 31 Lakeview Road.
Do I have a
I second.
Okay. David,
Aye.
Stefan, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
All right, I am going to screen share the amended order. I actually wrote up 2 versions of this. One was with iron pins and one was with not. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
All right, so I've added red text where I changed things from the original order. So this is nothing here has changed from here. I've got an updated registry exhibit for dated for tomorrow. And I have the updated site plan that they submitted from Chris Stoddard. Thank you very much. Everybody okay?
Yes.
All right, so moving through all this, 7, because we're a little farther along in the process, I have prior to any work taking place, the commission shall receive a letter in writing with an original signature from the applicant. So Joe had sent an email, and what I was saying is that we really want a written signed acknowledgement.
Yeah, and we were just waiting for this meeting to do that.
And as an FYI to the commission, I think in general, we should have this as a standard stock condition, just because I think it's good to make sure people are actually reading the fine print. So here, prior to the commencement, we've already seen the erosion controls. I don't think we need to go out and inspect them again, so I'm removing that. Is that okay?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so here under construction phase, again, no more erosion controls. We've got that, and we've got the updated site plan. All this is the same. Here, the planting plan. So I believe there may have been some existing ornamental plantings that were not native, and we were asking for them to be removed. But I just added here that when we want them removed, that we would like them removed within 30 days of this amended order.
You know
Okay?
which ones she's referring to?
I don't, which ones are you referring to?
There may be some non-native iris. I'm not sure what else.
I'll check because I have to
If
ask.
there are no, if it isn't native, if it is native, then don't remove it.
All right. Most of them I thought I put were all native over there. There isn't.
Actually, Joe, we probably shouldn't be talking with you because of the hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here, the applicant should submit to the commission documentation about the grass seed within 30 days of the order of this amended order. And down here, arrange a post-construction site visit within 30 days of the completion of the project. And then here's where I revised the condition. So the applicant shall install 8 approved marking pins and 3 large stationary boulders as indicated in the attached registry exhibit A site plan. Markers shall be extruded aluminum filled with concrete and numbered with high visibility labels. I would say aluminum markers. Markers. Boulders will be of sufficient size to be permanent. Marking pins above grade. Applicant shall maintain or repair boulders and markers as needed. Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. Marking pins identifying are in perpetuity. We already kind of said that. Future grantees have to maintain the dry basin. And then this condition here, a letter with an original signature to the Conservation Commission notifying the commission of the transfer and affirming that they've notified the grantee about the perpetual conditions. So just so that we're aware and of if there's going to be a transfer. And then the grantee would also have to respond to us in saying they understand what the conditions are. And then this language hasn't changed. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Good.
Good. And, let me stop the screen share and I'll show you the revised map, which I think I pulled up. Here it is. Okay. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to just add more detail in the notes here on the side about which have to be flagged or numbered and which don't. Whoa, what just happened? Okay. And then there are these points that we measured when we did the site visit, just to anchor some of these points so that if they ever need to be reestablished, somebody be able to find some fixed points to measure them from. This is a little unclear right here. Let's see if I can get that to move up. Whoop, that didn't work either. Okay, that's better. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Looks good.
Yep. Close that. And somebody want to make a motion to approve these amended order of conditions?
Make a motion to approve the amended order of conditions for 31 Lakeview Road.
Okay, second.
I second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Stefan, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Con,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Kathleen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So what is, I'm trying to think, where are we, how are we on time right now for our next hearing?
Next one doesn't start till 9 o'clock.
Are you kidding?
No.
My God, why were we rushing? I didn't realize that. That's great. So let me find my, we can go over site visits. I just had to figure out what I did with my agenda because I've lost the agenda. Okay. Here we go. All right, let's jump to site visits. So my recollection was we did a site visit. I think Don and I went to 120 Cushman Road and took a look at Nan Dill's property, which is across from Atkins Reservoir. And what we did was we went and looked up at the top of the driveway to get a better picture of what the whole scene was. Don, do you want to share?
So we looked at the driveway and the pitch of the driveway, and Miriam and I both agreed that there was enough water shedding off the hillside that they should have some sort of infiltration strips along the edges of the driveway, and that since the driveway was going to be removed down to subgrade, that they'd have an opportunity to either do it by hand or have the contractor do it. They could just cut away the grass along either side of the top of and sides of the driveway that will allow water to infiltrate that way.
Yeah, because one of the
Other than that, there was the bottom of the hill where the driveway met the main road. Miriam, what do you recall? The final say on that was kind of
well,
they needed to talk to the DPW about what their plans were.
Yeah. So they have an enormous amount of water coming down that driveway because they've got this huge slope behind their house, and then they have a paved parking area and a paved drive, very, very steep driveway. And so there's kind of banks on both sides of the driveway. So it's been cut into the bank. And the water just funnels down and pools at the bottom of their driveway. So in the right of way. So there is a storm drain about 35 feet away, but there's no swale connecting to it. And that's really the highway department's neck of the woods. And I did emailed Tim Hunting and CC'd the landowner saying, you know, we really would need to talk to the highway department about this because we can't resolve the problem for the landowner through an RDA for her. This is something the highway department would have to submit an RDA for, and I have not received a response. And so we need to follow up because, you know, this landowner wants to pave her driveway and she's kind of losing time with scheduling it. And I'm just kind of concerned about not getting a response from the highway department because it's holding her up. I don't know what to do.
Is she willing to put in the drainage, the infiltration or the trenches on the sides, like spend a little more money and put that
Yeah,
in?
they were willing to sacrifice their parking space at the bottom of the hill and shift it to just one side of their driveway. So that the drainage ditch could be connected. But again, like Miriam's saying, we don't get to plan what the DPW is going to do with the side of the road. We can ask them for an RDA. We can ask them to come up with some sort of a plan for the spot. But otherwise, what's going to happen is water is just going to run down the driveway. It's going to go into the road, and then it's going to top the road and end up into the Atkins Reservoir. It's a steep enough grade that that's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's probably been happening, anyway. And so I feel like having her try to deal with some of the water on, on her own property is a good first step. So if she's going to do her driveway, I think putting in the trenches and maybe even pitching the driveway towards a
Yeah,
water.
exactly.
some kind of
Pitching it in
stormwater.
either direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that the best way to resolve this and move the process along might be a phone call. Don, how would you feel about giving Tim Hunting a call about this?
Glad to do it.
Would you? That would be great. On behalf of the commission, would the commission be okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yep,
don't, I can't
bet.
do it. I don't have any time during the week, during business hours to do it. So
I-
that would be great, Don. I think you
I
understand.
can follow up tomorrow.
And I think you understand the situation pretty clearly. so
Sure.
Fantastic. Let us know. Thank you so much. All right. So 391 West Pelham Road, this was the ground mounted solar installation. We did a site visit and I think we found that there were no jurisdictional wetlands related to that. And then we did a site visit at 421 West Pelham Road, where there's new construction home and part of the driveway is in the buffer zone. And they are submitting an RDA. Then we looked at 263 West Pelham Road, which was a swimming pool that was about 65 feet from a large BBW, and they are submitting an RDA, which we're reviewing next week. And then 14 Lake Drive is the public hearing we have in 15 minutes. So we'll kind of hold about until the public hearing. And I've not heard anything about the site visit. Don, while you're on the phone with Tim Hunting, would you like to try to arrange a site visit to look at Sand Hill Road where they want to do the road widening?
Sure. Yeah.
I know Beth is available on Wednesdays after 3:30.
Usually.
Usually, maybe. I'm not available during the week for at least the next 2 or 3 weeks. So, if they want to wait till a little later in June, we could do a site visit, or if they want to try to come up with some dates.
So usually with these things, I ask them to provide me a day when they're available.
Okay.
And then I make myself available at that time.
Okay.
And I wouldn't expect Beth to do that, but we're working on the DPW, right? We're trying to create a relationship.
Okay. Well, it seems like 3:30 might be a time that they were willing to do in the past. So maybe giving them a choice of saying which Wednesday at 3:30, would you be willing to do it, and then see if we can get people to come?
Beth, is later better?
No, anytime between 3:30 and 5 is okay.
Okay. That's a good wide window. That's what we'll shoot for.
Okay.
Okay.
And the question, I guess, is where is it relative to wetlands? And is there any jurisdiction? Or
Sure.
it's on a sloping part, so it may be all upland and there may not be any wetlands, but there may be wetlands downhill. I'm sure there are wetlands downhill from the area that they want to widen. But
I think they're thinking about widening a very steep section below 99, below 100. But I'm not positive on that. I'll need to talk to them.
okay. All right, that'd be great, Don. Thanks.
Sure.
Are there any other business that we need to think about? I have not been in touch with in the last week or so with Pat Garner and Scott Horsley. I know that they were going to start doing some research and going to get back to us, so I need to loop back with them to see where they're at with it. Because I'd like to be able to set up a time for an initial meeting, but, wait, I want to do it when they have something to share with us. Okay. So maybe we just, since we have a couple minutes, so Carrie, I will send you a cover letter for Joe Salvador and a PDF for you to mail.
Okay.
You know what we need to do? Do I have permission from the commission to put your signatures into EDEP?
Yes.
I mean, I guess we could do that right now, right? Let me see if I've got the documents all converted. If you guys can just small talk for a minute.
Is it time to go to sleep yet?
Who went to town meeting? I did.
Who stayed till the end is the better question.
We did, yeah. No, I did not.
Was a very interesting meeting.
I wish I'd actually gone back for the 2 conservation ones, but I went in the beginning, did my civic duty, and then I just couldn't go back later. I meant to, but I just never made it back. But those would have been interesting. I'm assuming Penny Jacques presented the land purchase and everything. And I guess it went well. It would have been fun.
I would be really hesitant to do bylaw review or changes based on sitting at that meeting. That is a brutal process.
I'm just sorry that, the planning board went to all that work developing a new bylaw, a zoning bylaw. They had a public hearing for it. They supported it, and then it didn't pass because of by one vote. Usually,
And now they can't, because they did that, they can't resubmit for 2 years.
Oh, is that what it is?
Oh my God.
That's what they said. It
I
was
was
like,
Wow.
it was
Oh.
like one half of a vote, actually, when you divvied it up.
I was talking to Grace about this because I was really curious about it because I was in the meetings while they were making it. And I think it came down to that there wasn't enough information about residential use. And when they tried to amend things, I guess it didn't help too much and further not convinced anyone about it.
That's sad. Okay, I am gonna, I'm ready to do this. And I am going to screen share. Am I gonna screen share? How do I do this? I'm gonna do it like that. Okay. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Right, so Joe Salvador is, I hope I've, which is his, I think it's this one. Gotta sign in. Hold on one sec. Nobody look at what I'm doing. Okay, so I think this is it. I'm still kind of getting the hang. No, this is not it.
No, 286, I think is the number.
Oh, is it? Okay, I saved them all. 286. 1, 2, 3.
I didn't see it.
Oh, maybe I didn't do it. Okay, no, I did it. Amended order of conditions. Okay, so here we are. Anybody see it?
Yes.
So the NOI filing date, I put the original NOI filing date.
Yeah.
And then public hearing, and then registry dated 5/27. And then that's really the main site plan that's changed. And then here's the new updated site plan that Chris Stoddard produced. And then everything else is the same. Riverfront, we have, all that's the same, not changing any of that. And then see the conditions, it is not subject to stormwater standards. It is subject to the bylaw. see the special conditions. We got 5 signatures tonight. All right, here we go. This is really slow. Oh, maybe I'm supposed to do that. Anybody know, am I doing something wrong?
No, I think the website's just very old.
Okay. Will you attach? Yes. Okay, now I need to, and then certificate of vote. Oh, no, that's not right. Not ORAD. Certificate of vote. Choose the file. Everybody gets to see my files. Right there. And then what do I do? Confirm. Okay, then special condition, is this it? Amended. Is that right? And then what was, I forget what the other name of the file was. It was what was it called? Amended order of conditions, registry attachment A. So amended order of conditions, registry attachment A. Okay, does that look right?
Yep.
Okay. I have to do that, right? And then
Did you,
what?
Miriam, did you have the plan with the markers as an attachment? I didn't notice.
That was the registry attachment A.
Oh, okay. The one that was already submitted with the,
No, the revised one.
okay, so this one, okay. Oh, I thought the registry attachment was that other language that you had from the registry of deeds.
Well,
Okay.
that's just attached to the order of conditions.
Oh, okay.
Robin. Out of order. Okay. Accept. Then I'm not done yet, right? If you would like this confirmation, send it to me and then I can forward it. I'm always confused about how to download a digital file of the permit. Do you know how I do that?
Yeah, well, you submit it.
Okay, so I submit. Okay, now I'm here, print receipt. I should have that, right? Okay. And then what do I do? Exit?
Then yeah, you have to exit out.
And then recently submitted, I go here.
Yep.
And it's this one. And download to print.
Yep.
Nice. I'm still learning how to do this.
And I think I have to do that. I have to do the print function rather than. Okay. Oh my God, it's working. That's great. So amended. Let's see. All right, and then I exit.
You're done.
Wow. Okay, thank you. See, I've done it a few times, but I never remember.
You did it perfectly. You did it.
Right.
You knew what you were doing.
Do we need to submit reappointments to the select board or are you taking care of that?
I told them, the only two people who were up for reappointments were you and me, and I told them that we were still in the game.
Okay,
You're still with us, right, Mary?
so don't desert me. Oh
Yeah.
gee, how could I possibly want to miss all those things coming up?
All right, we got 2 minutes. Hi, I see we've got folks for the next public hearing. We'll just have to wait a minute. I'm just gonna, while we're waiting, I'm just gonna send our land use clerk the documents for to mail out to the Salvadors. Okay. It's also annoying with that EDP, they have to close out everything. Okay. And I'm gonna also, although it's not official, Kathleen, and if they're still there, Drive. Actually, I should, Salvador, what is it, 286-0286? Is that the right file number? Can you remind me?
Yeah, 286-0286.
Okay. So the amended order of conditions. And I'm emailing, so Carrie, I'm just CCing Concom so you can print that. And I've got a cover letter. I'll send a separate cover because I'm also I'm CCing DP. Okay. I did a lot of work getting this all together, you guys. Okay, so all right, it's 9 o'clock. I'll do it later. Okay, we need to open the public hearing for 14 Lake Drive, notice of intent. And hello, I see Donna. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Miriam.
And who else is here with you?
We have Chris Chamberlain here with us. Hi, Chris. And John Campbell is one of our builders. And Dan Bradbury is the other builder. And Jesse Solomon is the architect.
Great. Oh, wow. We got a full house. Thank you for bringing everybody. Do you want us to pull up a site plan and let you present a little bit and describe the project? Does that sound like a good way for us to begin?
Yeah, and whether you pull it up or I have it available too, and could share my screen.
I think I can pull it up pretty quickly. It would be in the NOI packet or the site plan. Okay. Let me screen share.
Yeah.
All right. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know what sort of introduction or description is traditional here.
Well, I don't think we have a tradition, but if you want to just tell us maybe in a nutshell, we've looked at the NOI, but if you could, in a nutshell, summarize kind of what the major points are for the project.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Or Chris, would you like to do that, or I could jump in?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm happy to do it.
If you want me to scroll to a different screen, let me know.
Sure. And I think we're looking at existing conditions now. So yeah, I'm Chris Chamberlain. I'm a civil engineer with Berkshire Design Group, and I've been helping Donna and Andrew with the site plan for this project. which is on Lake Drive, one of those lakeside properties. So this is the existing conditions plan. There's an existing single-family house sort of in the center bottom portion of the site close to Lake Drive on this narrow property that runs all the way to the lake, which is the northern property line here. And then, you know, the other sort of key existing condition that I saw in an email was discussed that I actually wasn't aware of, but it makes a lot of sense, is the existing storm drain that runs from the south side of Lake Drive along the left property line there, and then discharges directly into the lake. While that doesn't carry any drainage from this property, apparently because it goes directly into the lake, it is technically an intermittent stream, and therefore there's a buffer zone associated with that as well as the lake itself.
Let me just interrupt. It's
yeah,
not
go for it.
It's not that it's a storm drain. It actually is intermittent. It's a wetland uphill.
Oh, I see.
It crosses over two roads from way uphill and drains down into the lake, but it's a wetland.
Great. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. And that I'm trying to get up to speed on the email that I saw just a little earlier today. And so the sort of end result of that is between the buffer zone associated with the edge of the lake and the buffer zone that would be associated with the wetland areas at the inlet end of that pipe, turns this entire property into buffer zone. On our original plan, we showed a limit of buffer zone, which you can see there running sort of right through the middle of the house, and excluded the very southern portion of the property. Exactly. And so if we then layer on the buffer zone associated with that intermittent stream, then the entire property and all of the work there becomes work in the buffer. And the other resource area that we identified is bordering land subject to flooding, because there is a floodplain associated with Lake Wyola. At this, the lake flood elevation is 836. And so there's an 836 contour that is about 2/3 of the way from south to north on that property. And
okay.
I don't know if I have the ability to draw on your screen, but I'm going to try real quick and see.
Unless you're screen sharing it. Do you want to screen share instead? Here, I'll stop and you can.
Sure.
Do you want to
I can try that. Let's see. Great. I assume everybody's seeing this okay?
Yes.
Yes.
And actually, let me bring up the plan that we were just looking at.
And maybe a little closer. Oh, good.
Great. Okay. So now that I'm not just waving my hands in the air on my side of the screen. Oops, sorry. I'm used to a different PDF program that operates a different way. Lake Wyola to the north, which has a 100-foot buffer, which runs to this point on the property. And then this is the pipe that I was just discussing that runs through this property and discharges into the lake at this point. And I'm a little rusty on the regulations as pertaining to piped intermittent streams, but I believe the point at which there's a buffer associated with that stream is the inlet end of that pipe, which is placed such that the entirety of this property then becomes buffer zone, is to just re-summarize what I was saying a moment ago.
I think what I was told was that the pipe has essentially become bank. And so the buffer zone runs with the conduit. What do you think,
Okay.
Beth?
Because I know with perennial streams, the riverfront zone essentially disappears where the stream is piped, but it's entirely possible that it's different with intermittent. I don't know.
No.
Yeah. With riverfront, if it's piped for over, I think it's 200 feet. If you have something piped in riverfront that's over 200 feet, then you lose the riverfront. But for intermittent, there is no real, there's no law about it, except that the pipe itself becomes bank.
Okay.
I would just note that, and this is covered. So in addition to the state regulations, we have a local bylaw, and the bylaw protects the 100-foot buffer zone as a resource area. So that means the whole 100-foot buffer around the bank is a protected resource area.
Sure. Okay, so then as we look through the proposed plan, if we layer in that additional protected zone, we can talk about whether there are implications that we may need to account for that we hadn't before with the absence of that area.
Okay.
And so then the 100-year flood elevation for the lake, as I mentioned, is 836. And so on our topographic survey, we have an 836 contour at this point, meaning that anything north of this contour is then bordering land subject to flooding.
And is that marked on the because I can't see and I don't have my map open. Is that labeled as bordering land subject to flooding on the project drawing?
It was not on the original submission. On the revised plans that I had sent earlier today addressing some of those DEP comments, because DEP did pick up on that. We have indicated that that line is the limit of the bordering land subject to flooding and highlighted it.
And I don't even know if I've had a chance to forward that to everybody. It came in late in
Sure.
the afternoon. Did I send that to anybody? I don't even, but it sounds like that it may have to change anyway, so.
I have a copy, so I must have gotten it from you this afternoon.
Nice.
It shows the bordering land subject to flooding on map C1.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I do have that here just to show this is how we've indicated it, as I've highlighted that line and added a note.
One question I had is, what are the dimensions of the current home? I know that essentially the side yard setbacks are about the same, and I think that they said that they were extending the length of the house by about 3 feet. Is that right?
Yep, so on the plans, we do have the existing structure shown here, although I'm going to ask either Donna and Andrew or Jesse, the architect, to chime in on exactly how it's changing, though I'm happy to share the graphics that demonstrate it.
Jesse, you could jump in if you like, but to the width is 24 feet and will remain unchanged. And the plan is to lengthen it towards the lake by 3 feet 4 inches, I believe.
And so the length is what?
The length from road to lake, is, well, if it's shown there. Well,
right, so
the new house would be 35 feet 5 inches.
Okay.
You maintain the same.
Yeah, so as you can see here, the existing length, and there are the nominal lengths that the building people are working with based on the measurement off of the survey. Existing length is a 32.3 foot long. And then as we jump to proposed, 35.5 feet. So slightly less than, or slightly more than 3 feet longer. With that same 24-foot dimension.
Are you proposing removing trees in the vicinity of where that pipe is?
We would like to cut down to stumps, indeed, trees along the left-hand border. They are growing into the house, and neighbors have also requested a preference that they be removed to increase their view.
And are you thinking of pulling the stumps or just cutting flush to the ground?
Well, we would like to do what the commission thinks is best. I'd rather not have huge stumps sticking out, but I remember from the site visit when you expressed a preference that the stumps remain in the ground.
Well, the concern I would have is pulling the stumps may break that or rupture that pipe. But
Yeah.
they can cut they can cut stumps off and grind them down so that they're flush with the ground, and they'll just, biodegrade over time.
Yeah,
Home
I
over
think that
if you want.
that sounds safest and and reasonable. And of course, we care deeply about the safety of the lake as well, and so not hurting that pipe is also in our best interest.
Yeah, because it would also make your yard a mess. If it ruptured, you'd end up having a stream in your backyard, which probably isn't what you want.
True.
Yeah, and we had not discussed the options before, but in my opinion, I think grinding is the great middle ground there. I agree that pulling stumps anywhere near an old pipe is a risk that we probably don't want to run, and grinding is a great way to remove them.
Okay. Are there more details you want to share, or commissioners, do you have some questions you'd like to ask? I might be able to pull up some photographs of the site. That would be helpful. So if anybody has questions, they could ask them, and I'll see.
Yeah, I guess I would just want to highlight a couple of points on the plan real quick. And I know that this got discussed in a couple of comments. So the existing site has a tight tank for septic, the cover located in this location right here. The actual tank extends a little bit beyond that. That is to remain entirely unchanged. The bedroom count for the house is the same, so there's no need to do anything about it. We explored whether there were any opportunities to move to some kind of a traditional septic, and the site just really doesn't allow it based on dimensions. So that is, within buffer zones, but a historic condition that's going to remain unchanged. And then we do have erosion controls proposed to prevent any sediment from migrating to the lake. On this sheet, we have details of what we typically use is a row of silt fence with straw wattle staked in place in front of it, which especially on a small site provides a pretty robust barrier. There was a note from DEP asking about the stabilization of the site, and included on the plan, on the site plan sheet was a note just stating that all areas disturbed by construction would be loamed and seeded to reestablish grass cover, really mimicking what's there today. And then there were a couple of questions, I guess, from the site visit asking about both foundation and surface drainage. And so just to hit the surface drainage first, the proposed house is going to be peaked such that the roof sheds off to the east and west toward the side property lines here. There are no gutters or piped connections or anything like that proposed for the drains. They'll flow off the roof onto drip strips and then run overland through the stone, through the grass, and then, as everything does, ultimately to the lake. There is a basement proposed with a walkout on the lake side. And so the question about foundation drainage actually did trigger the architect and I have a conversation about that. And the elevation of the bottom of the basement where we'd like to collect in a perimeter drain is such that in order to daylight that foundation drainage, we do actually have to go beyond the limit of work that was indicated originally on the plans. And so what we've shown here is, again, strictly for groundwater. There is no piped drainage of any surface water, but daylight for the foundation drainage, which we propose and would land in this location here with erosion controls during construction. And then we'd propose a clean crushed stone pad to allow that water to trickle out and spread without triggering any erosive effects in that location. So those are the keys I just wanted to hit so that everything's clear. And then I'd be happy to turn it back to you folks for any questions that may have come up. And if you would like to look at those photos, I can pull my screen down and let you share.
Well, I don't know if they're all going to be that helpful unless people want to see them.
How far is the drainage outfall from the bank of the lake?
It is about 20 feet.
Okay.
Is, would it make sense to have something, some vegetation around it? you
We
thinking it'll
certainly
take
could to get that deeper rooted
Or you just leave
uh,
a sheet flow
protection.
of grass?
Yeah, and also hide the end of it, which may not be which may be a nice thing for the owners as well. Yeah, we could certainly recommend some native shrubs that would be very happy in that location.
And I presume, Chris, that, and the commission, that that location could be moved to the other side of the property?
So when, and I realized that we didn't discuss this location. The challenge on this side of the property is that you do have a large deciduous tree here. So to bring that pipe over there would be challenging and potentially detrimental to the tree. So that was the reason that I chose that side.
And you're not gonna, that's not a tree you're moving.
Right.
Correct.
Right. We want to keep that tree.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is, yeah.
how high from the ground is that?
I'm just thinking about its use on that side, right? And that's just a prime traffic area where we probably would not want to have a bush.
And I would say from my perspective, you know, if as long as we didn't get too far into the drip line of this tree, that, you know, physically we can outlet at any point toward this elevation. I apologize to the commission. We should have had this conversation earlier, but time didn't allow for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's something along the curved line that you described. Seems like that will work out.
Yeah, I guess it's breaking up your lawn. It's probably the concern you're having.
Yes, and the right-hand side is more, yeah, the traffic area to the lake.
Right, because you have that little axe. You've got a little ramp there, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what other solutions there might be. I don't know about having the pipe go underground roughly there and then make a left-hand turn. Maybe that's what you were describing, Chris.
Yeah, so, you know, I would say that if, you know, sort of where my cursor is now, we could run on a straight line, which is ideal. We could bend it if necessary and doesn't impact the tree really at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's far enough to be sort of out of the traffic lane that you're describing.
I think it would be, actually.
I think it would be better.
Yeah, I think it would be better for multiple reasons. I mean, that's often also a place where currently we put a table and chair on the lawn, and it's, I mean, if we weren't required to have a bush, but could have maybe more serious gravel, then the table could be right on top of that gravel area, if that was acceptable.
Would be on top of where water would be coming out.
Yeah, but it's grassy. Right. Yes, that's true. But presumably not all the time. and no, it's a table on the grass anyways. An area where, yeah, the furniture and we are used to getting wet. Yeah, thank you.
I suppose, you know, the question to the commission in terms of the notice of intent is that, you know, we need to, in order to have the basement, we do need to drain the perimeter in order to prevent water intrusion. And then physics, unless we go to a sump pump, which I think we wouldn't want to rely on, energy use, obviously, when we can go by gravity is not beneficial. So then physics sort of dictates that this is the proximity to the lake where that foundation drainage would come out. It's clean water. There's no issues with sediment or other pollutants. It's not a temperature issue because it's coming out of the ground. And so the question in terms of the NOI is this proximity to the lake acceptable? And if the exact location were to change, we could come back with an amended plan, which I think would be a minor change. And then, is there the imposition of a condition that would require, say, shrubs to be planted at that outlet or not? It sounds like the owners would prefer not to have those plantings there. I do hear the benefit that would be created, but that would be up to the commission to determine.
It's a tight lot, so there isn't a lot of room for different things to be going on. I mean, I think, from my perspective, maybe other folks have an idea. I don't, a gravel pad or a plantings, doesn't really make a huge difference. And I agree with you that, it's clean water, and we're not talking about stormwater infiltration. We're talking about water that's already on the site and keeping it out of the basement. Makes sense if you have the slope to do it by gravity. Any other thoughts from other people on the commission about that?
I feel like, a gravel pad is standard, and that's great. And I guess the only concern would be if it became a lot of water, having a couple shrubs around there would actually, be absorbing up some of the water that's coming out if it's a lot, because, what we don't want to see is a lot of water coming out, making it actually over the pad and heading through the yard into the lake and actually ending up, creating some kind of a channel or erosion or something like that. But I think 20 feet is a good distance. I think that, that's an acceptable distance for me from the lake, and then maybe just some kind of vegetation around the edges of the gravel pad to absorb any overflow.
The other possibility that would ease the traffic concerns if it exited to the far right, very close to the property line. But I imagine is that allowed to be so close to the property line?
I think
It would be allowed. I think it would be good to get the neighbors on board with it, just because there's the potential for to create some sogginess right at that property line. More of a good neighbor question than any regulatory issue.
We're on, very good terms with our neighbor, and what's likely to be is the outcome of this meeting likely to be like a very specific prescription or a small menu of options that we can?
I think that the location is really a design issue. It's not our regulatory issue, as far as I can see. That's really your preference. It's not going to be something that makes it, we should be weighing in on. I think what we have to decide is, should we can be continuing so that we can have an updated site plan that has the features that came in late today that Chris is mentioning need to be added.
Well, I just want to add to that, I think our concern really is as far away from the lake as it can be. But I think what Chris was saying is based on the sloping and everything, where they have the outfall right now is it has to be at least that far from the basement to get the right slope. And that's fine, but we wouldn't want it any closer to the lake.
No. Agreed.
Right, what I'm hearing Miriam say in terms of location is, as we're looking at it here horizontally.
Yes, that's fine.
And that the approval would apply to no closer to the lake than what is shown on the plan.
Yep.
That's exactly, that was my.
Yeah.
And, I'm not totally familiar with the groundwater conditions here, but seeing a sloping site with a walkout basement and groundwater that's probably pretty heavily influenced by where the lake is, I am not anticipating that this is a major flow of water.
But not probably a major flow. I have a super wet yard and my perimeter drain doesn't have a whole lot of water, so probably not. Okay, so I just would like to poll to see whether we have enough information to close, whether there is this issue about they're needing to revise the plan slightly. Whether we want to approve with the plan we have that was submitted today and request that they just update another plan on file with the buffer zone and the bank modeled. I do have draft conditions here, so if we want to try and close tonight, we can go over those if we feel like we have enough information.
I think I'm okay.
Do you want to, do we want to just approve this plan with the requirement that they submit the updated plan, and we'll note in the findings the resource areas that are not on the map and just say they're not on the map, but that we are determining they're there?
Can we close the hearing tonight and then do the order of conditions next week? And by then we would have the revised plan that we can refer to in the order of conditions with the correct date and the correct.
We could do that. I think we can do that.
I think we can do that.
Yeah. I've already got it all
idea.
written, so it's just a matter of updating a couple words and then we'll be ready to go. So it wouldn't be, I don't think it's going to be too time consuming to draft the order next week.
Can I just ask how that would impact? We have our ZBA hearing on June 9th. Would it make a difference what you do tonight or next week in
Well, if
terms
we
of that?
do it next week, we would issue that permit and it'd be issued the next day, June 3rd. So you don't have the permit.
Okay, great. So there'd be time either way.
And we just I put in, just so you have a heads up, there's a bunch of standard kind of orders of condition that we're using for notices of intent. I'm trying to see if I've put anything in here that's really, we would have probably a pre-construction site visit once you get the erosion controls in place. One thing that we needed to clarify was the tree removal. I guess that, so we would need to specify which trees we're approving. I guess that's one question I have. Would it be safe to say limited tree removal along what is that boundary of that property? What side is that? Is it the
This one is the west.
is that where the pipe is?
Yes, the pipe is right here.
Western boundary is approved. Just accept
Only grinding stumps, not,
grinding
yeah.
of stumps and no removal from the ground. Okay. That was the one question I had. And I think everything. Are you, in terms of patios and walkways, we didn't really talk about that, but.
Yeah, we're not having walkways, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so what we are showing on the plan, coming from the road, is a walkway turning into a raised deck walk to arrive at the front door. You can also see the outline of a balcony that hangs off of the front of the house, elevated. off the back of the house on the walkout side, there are retaining walls on either side of the house here and here. And then an elevated deck with stairs to grade over here.
Okay, and so no, no impervious walkways.
This little bit first coming from the road where we're at grade would be impervious, a handful of square feet.
Okay. And the parking area is across the street, so that's not really a relevant issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Any other? I'm just thinking. any
Could I
other-
ask, so under the plan to close the meeting and do the order of conditions next week, then I presume that we should be here again next week?
Not really necessary because we can't really entertain any more discussions. Once we close the hearing, we can't. That's why I'm asking some questions, because we
I see.
can't talk with you about it once we close the public hearing. So that's why I want to make sure we're all on the same page before I start.
Thank you.
drafting
No,
the
I
order.
understand. I didn't understand before.
I'm sorry, did that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
That's a good question. So,
And just speaking of formalities, you didn't ask for public comment yet.
we did not ask for public comment, but thank you then. Is there any public comment? I don't know if we have any public here tonight still. The other people here are consultants for us. So they've kind of.
I didn't think there would be any, but I always want to make sure that we check all the boxes.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. Okay. The other thing that we often, or we've been requiring as sort of a standard condition, is asking people when they're reseeding to use a conservation mix, grass seed as opposed to just stock grass seed. I hope that would be acceptable.
Yeah, I don't really know
I
the
don't know
difference
anything about
actually.
it, so.
All right.
Yeah, what is a conservation mix, Miriam?
Somebody else want to explain that?
Hi, it's a combination of fescues, sedges, a couple of different types of grasses, not a blend of varieties, but just a bunch of different kinds. And what you end up with is a rougher kind of grassy meadow that sometimes comes with wildflowers.
Yeah,
sounds good to me.
Sounds very good. Yeah.
Yeah, so most garden supply places will carry a conservation mix of one sort or another. And so we just would ask you to submit to us at some point, and we'll put it in the order to give us like a scan, a picture of the whatever type you use, like the label for it.
And we spec conservation mixes all the time, so we can note that on the plan for your contractor to know exactly what we're looking for.
That'd be great.
And I think maybe we should just note that I think one of our standard conditions is within buffer zone, no use of fertilizers or herbicides or pesticides. So that'll be in there.
Are we allowed to condition herbicides and pesticides, Beth? I thought we weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah, within buffer zone, sure.
Oh, I thought that,
Yeah.
We're not big users of pesticides and fertilizers, so.
Yeah, we're well aligned with that already.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll figure that piece out. All right, great. All right, so do we have a motion to close?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on 14 Lake Drive.
Okay, second?
I second.
Okay, David?
Aye.
Stefan? Aye. Harrington?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
Great. And, you know, I will just say, and this is not an order, but just a recommendation in general that we've been trying to emphasize to folks who live on the lake. Whenever possible, it is really helpful for the health of the lake to have vegetated buffers along the shoreline. I know it's pretty clear you have a retaining wall there, but native plants have deeper roots and they do an excellent job of preserving banks and keeping retaining walls from subsiding, and absorbing water. So they're both scenic and attractive, but they have benefits for protecting your property as well as protecting the lake.
That's good.
And I just put up some educational materials on our website about how to create vegetated buffer strips on lakes. So you might want to look at that if you're interested.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I don't know that we have anything else. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chris, and the rest of your team. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for your
so
time.
much for your time
Thank
and your
you all very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And you'll get us the map.
Yes, we'll put that together right away.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So you're going to work on the orders the 2nd?
Yeah, I've already got them drafted. We'll just fine tune a couple pieces and we'll vote on them next week.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night.
Do we have anything else for tonight?
The only thing I'm missing when I'm doing my minutes is the National Grid right of way. I didn't know if there was anything else about that or.
Whether we wanted to comment about it.
It was on the agenda, so I thought I
Yeah,
would.
because they had invited us to comment. Did anybody want to give them any comments? They did map wetlands. They're doing spot treatments along the right of way for the power lines, for the high tension lines.
So it's likely that their treatments are really just going to be brush hogging or, cutting down the larger saplings and stuff like that. The company that's doing the work, if it is VCS, likes to leave behind sort of a combination of sweet fern and other smaller size type shrubs, but they cut away things like mountain laurel and some of the larger trees that are growing there. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, I don't know, but it's better than herbicide.
But it sounded like they might use some herbicides there.
Yeah, it sounded like they were going to try to paint stumps of some of the stuff in there, probably the mountain laurel, to keep it from growing back as vigorously. I'd sort of like to see that in action, how they're going to do that in wet areas. Generally, what they do is they put down, like PAR construction puts down big beams, like you've seen down in Amherst where they're redoing the power lines. And they cover these areas with these wood rafts that they drive over, and that's how they work. But I've never actually seen them take brush and trees down like that and then apply an herbicide to it effectively anyway.
Well, I don't know. It's interesting.
Hey,
I mean, we certainly can monitor the situation. You're allowed to go in there and look at their work, even though it's right of way work. All Concoms are allowed to examine them. That's kind of the reason they send you the notification.
I don't hear anybody jumping. Many things to do. Before we
If we send them a a note that may notify us when herbicides would be applied, we would like to observe, then I can make myself available to actually see it.
Okay. Carrie, do you want to do that? Do you want to take care of that? Carrie there?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Do you want to send them an email saying that we're interested in observing if they're going to be applying herbicides, and so we could have one of our representatives?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, that'd be great. And just CC Dawn on it and me.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great, Carrie. So just to review, because I want to make sure for next week, 7 o'clock is 263 West Pelham Road. Then 8 o'clock, did we continue the 64 Cushman Road? Is that when it is? Is that what we agreed on?
Yes.
And then 8:30 is the continuation of Lake Drive.
Yes.
26 Lake Drive.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And maybe Carrie, you could just stay on the phone for me on the line with me after we end the meeting, and I'll make sure I get you the cover letter for.
Okay. Yeah, I printed out the other form already.
Okay. You're fast. It's awesome.
We had a lot of time to kill.
Yeah. All right.
Do you need a motion to adjourn?
We do. It's 9:40.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Miriam
I second.
No, I get to second. Okay. David.
Aye.
DeFont, aye. Harrington.
Aye.
Aye.
And Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. And
Thank you, everybody. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
yes.
You too.
Thanks, you too.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So let me make sure I've got the right cover letter. I think I drafted it. Okay, Joe and Swift, 27. Recording information, no disturb area. Okay, I'm pretty sure I am good to go with this cover letter. And you've got the order of conditions, right?
Yes, and I have my envelope ready to pack it away, so that way I don't have to think about it in the morning. Or I will.
Well, that's what I was trying to get this done with.
So for the email, basically, I'm just asking that when they plan to lay down herbicide, that we would like a representative to attend if possible.
To observe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were asking him that when I was typing, and I didn't realize you were asking me.
All right. Okay. All right. And then next week we have the Rob Levine RDA. Looks like he submitted the legal notice, the proof of submission, so we're probably.
Yeah, and I just got the butter notifications today. He originally said that he attached it, but he forgot, and then he just emailed us an hour ago with it. So
All right.
he's all set.
Okay, I'll go over those minutes in the next few days.
Okay, yeah.
These minutes tonight are going to be a little challenging, I think.
Yeah, for the most part, I really just observed because there was a lot of fast back and forth that I could not keep up with. So it's better for me to just review it slowly through the recording, so that way I really get every little piece. I plan on though, because Mancebo was wondering if we had written down the questions. I'm gonna go through that really quick, write down the questions, and then send it to everyone so that way they have it on hand.
Right. I would just qualify it saying if this isn't correct, commission, I'm asking the commission to correct it, or, invite.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
If anybody sees anything that doesn't look correct, please correct me or something, so that if for some reason they think.
Yeah, that way also when we do receive the letter from them, we have the questions on hand and can hopefully check them off.
That was challenging. Okay.
Yeah, say the least.
That was challenging. Okay, all right, thanks. Good night.
You're welcome. Good night.